I have a storage unit. For 10 years, no one in my family has known about it. No address, no facility name, not a single word. I didn't keep it secret because I like being mysterious. I kept it secret because what's inside, if it ever leaked, even once could tear the family apart. Last night, I stopped by to grab a box of documents. I had just lifted the rolling door halfway when I heard footsteps behind me. I figured it was an employee. I turned around. My son-in-law was standing there, smiling like everything was normal. And in his hand, it was a key. He held it up. "Dad, I came to help." I froze. Because that key, there's only one set. I've always kept it. I've never given it to anyone. I never even told my daughter this place existed. And yet he held it like it was familiar to him. I looked him straight in the eye. "How do you know about this place?" He didn't flinch. Just a smooth, easy smile. "You forgot? You asked me to hold on to it." A chill ran down my spine. An innocent person gets nervous when caught off guard. He didn't. He answered like he'd rehearsed it. I glanced at the lock. No signs of tampering, which meant the key worked, which meant he didn't just show up. He already had access. In that moment, everything I had stored here, documents, memories, safeguards for my grandchild, became a target. And I understood something very clearly. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about a plan. Anyone who holds the key to a place you never even mentioned has been living inside your secrets far longer than you think. This unit doesn't hold gold. No stacks of cash like in the movies. It holds something far more dangerous. Ownership and control. Inside are copies of property deeds, insurance contracts, a USB drive with financial records and backup passwords, a box of my daughter's memories, letters, photos, an old ring, and one envelope I sealed myself. For my grandchild if things ever go wrong. I didn't hide this place because I'm secretive. I hid it because I've seen too many families fall apart over one sentence. "Just tell me where it is. I'll take care of everything." Good people take care of things with actions. Greedy ones start by looking for keys. My son-in-law Kyle has always had that hunter's instinct. Every word out of his mouth sounds right. "I just want stability. I don't want you to worry. I'll carry the burden, but I've been watching." He always circles back to money. Not directly, never that obvious. Jokes, casual questions, accidental curiosity. And every time I deflect, his eyes dim for just a second. Most people wouldn't notice that. I did. I don't hate him. I just don't trust anyone who talks about assets like they already belong to a shared future. And I definitely don't trust a man who can smile across the dinner table, then go looking for your lock the moment you turn your back. This storage unit was my final boundary, the last place I kept untouched, to protect my daughter and my grandchild, not to play games, not to test anyone, just to stay safe. And yet last night Kyle stood there, holding the key, which means, while I thought I was hidden, someone had already stepped into my shadow. And now the question isn't what he wants. The question is, how much has he already taken? Looking back, none of this was random. It was all prepared. I just chose to be polite. Kyle used to ask questions that sounded like jokes. "Where do you keep important documents, Dad? Do you have a safe? You ever thought about getting a storage unit?" He always smiled when he asked, like he was talking about the weather. But those questions weren't harmless. They were probes, little tests, to see how I'd react. One time, he even said, "You're getting older, Dad. What if you forget something? How are we supposed to handle things later?" It sounded like concern. It wasn't. It was pressure. He was poking at a very specific fear. The fear every older man has. Becoming a burden. Losing control. I brushed it off every time. "I've got it handled." Kyle would nod, but his eyes never did. Those eyes, they recorded everything. Then there were the small favors. "I can drive you to handle paperwork. Let me help organize your documents. I'll clean out your storage for you. A decent man helps because you need it. A hunter helps, so he can get closer to where you keep things. And then I remembered something I wish I hadn't. One afternoon, I was moving boxes. Kyle reached over and said, "Here, let me hold your keys so you don't have to carry everything." I handed them to him. Didn't think twice. But last night, when I saw that storage key in his hand, that memory hit me like a slap. 2 minutes. That's all it takes to copy a key. A thief doesn't need you to tell him anything. He just needs you to relax once. And the worst part? Kyle didn't panic when I asked him how he knew. Not even a flicker. He answered smoothly like he'd practiced it. Because this wasn't the first time. People who get caught for the first time stumble. Kyle didn't. He was ready. And that's when it finally clicked. The storage unit wasn't exposed last night. It had been exposed for a long time. Last night was just the first time I walked in on him. While he still thought I was blind, I stepped closer to the lock. Looked carefully. No scratches. No dents. No fresh marks. That key worked, which meant Kyle wasn't here to bluff. He was here because he already had access. I turned to him. "Where did you get that key?" Kyle shrugged casual. "Effortless. You gave it to me." "You forget things, Dad. That kind of lie is dangerous. Because it doesn't just deny the truth. It rewrites it. It turns me into the unreliable one. The old man who can't remember. So later, if something goes missing, people won't question him. They'll question me." I held his gaze for a second longer. Then I did the one thing he didn't expect. I nodded. "Yeah. Maybe I did forget." Kyle relaxed instantly. Because predators don't need you to agree. They just need you to lose control. I didn't give him that. I lifted the door and walked in like nothing was wrong. Kyle followed. Too naturally, like he'd been here before. His eyes moved fast, but not randomly. He didn't look at the keepsakes. Didn't care about the personal stuff. His gaze locked straight onto the section labeled Documents. That was enough. I didn't need to ask anything else. People who come here for the first time don't locate things that quickly. They search. Kyle didn't search. He checked. I closed the unit and said, "I don't need help today. I've got it." He smiled, smooth as ever. "I just wanted to support you." Support? No. He was watching what I think, what I move, what I notice. I walked away from that storage with one thing clear in my head. If I don't act now, everything inside that unit will slowly become his. On paper, or by disappearing. And if he already has the key, then this isn't about intention anymore. He's had time. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the storage office. No family drama, no explanations. I gave them exactly what they needed to hear. Someone accessed my unit without permission. I need entry logs and camera footage. The manager checked my ID, confirmed ownership, then pulled up the access records. I looked at the screen, and my stomach dropped. There were entries I didn't recognize. Dates I wasn't there. Days I was in another state, and my unit was still being opened. Same access type, same key, the same kind Kyle was holding. I asked for the cameras. They pulled up the latest footage, and there he was. Kyle, walking in, unlocking the unit, like it belonged to him. Not once, multiple times. Some days, he came alone. Other days, he brought someone with him. A man in a cap, and then one clip. He stayed inside for nearly 40 minutes. 40 minutes isn't curiosity. 40 minutes is searching, sorting, taking. My hands went cold, not because I was afraid of losing things, but because I realized something worse. Kyle had been inside my secrets, long before I ever suspected a thing. For 10 years, I believed no one knew. Meanwhile, he had been coming and going like an owner. I turned to the manager. Is there any way someone could get a key without me authorizing it? He hesitated, gave me the safest answer possible. Usually, only the owner or someone authorized would have access. Authorized? I never authorized anyone, which leaves only two options. He copied my key from inside my house. or he found a way to make his access look legitimate. I took the printed logs and walked out. The wind hit me, but it wasn't as cold as the truth sitting in my chest. The most dangerous enemy isn't a stranger. It's the man who calls you dad, while quietly unlocking your door behind your back. I went straight home and pulled out my original key ring. The storage key was still there, which meant one thing. Kyle didn't steal it and return it. He made a copy, and then it hit me. A few months ago, I was moving boxes. Kyle stepped in, smiling. Here, let me hold your keys so you can use both hands. 3 minutes. That's all he had them. 3 minutes is enough to photograph a key. Enough to remember the cuts. Enough to walk into a shop later and make a copy. A man with intent doesn't need time. He needs a moment. I turned to my daughter. Mia, have you ever seen Kyle duplicate any keys? She shook her head, confused. No. I didn't even know you had a storage unit. Exactly. My daughter didn't know. Kyle did. Because he didn't need her. He needed access. I told her about the entry logs. The footage. Her face drained of color. He's been there multiple times? I nodded. And he wasn't looking at memories. He was looking for documents. Mia's voice broke. Then what does he want? I didn't soften it. He wants to know what I own. He wants to map the future. He wants control before anyone else has it. She went quiet. That silence. That was the moment she understood. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. I picked up my phone and called Dana. My son-in-law has a key to my storage. I have logs. I have footage. She didn't hesitate. Good. Then we don't argue with him. We build a case. And we cut off every path he has to your assets. And that's when it became clear to me. This wasn't something you handle within the family anymore. Because a man who copies your key doesn't stop at one lock. Dana told me to go back and watch the footage again. Not casually, carefully. So I did. I sat there and watched everything. And one thing became very clear. Kyle wasn't searching. He knew exactly where to go. Every time he entered the unit, he walked straight to the same row. The box is labeled Documents. No hesitation. No guessing. He pulled out the exact box, opened it, flipped through quickly, phone out, photos taken. Then everything went back. Almost exactly how it was. Almost. In one clip, he did something different. He took out a thin envelope, paused, looked through it, then slid it into his jacket. That's when it clicked. Kyle isn't a petty thief. He's stealing information, and information is what destroys you. Because it doesn't trigger alarms. It waits until one day, something is signed, something is transferred, something is no longer yours. And you don't even know when it happened. I pulled up my inventory list. I've always kept records of important items. And when I cross-checked, something was missing. A small black USB and a thin envelope, copies of key contracts and asset-related documents. Not much, just the right things. That's not a mistake, that's selection. I sat down and let the air out slowly. If Kyle has that USB, he has access to passwords, financial data, everything he needs to move quietly, to go around me, to get ahead of me. Dana's voice snapped me back. Don't confront him yet. We set a trap. We catch him in the act, because he'll deny everything until a camera shows his hand taking the exact item. I nodded. I've been polite long enough. With people like Kyle, politeness isn't kindness. It's surrender. I told Mia about the missing USB. She panicked. What was on it? I told her the truth. Financial data. Scanned copies of documents. A few backup passwords. Mia sank down into her chair. She understood immediately. If Kyle had that, he hadn't just taken something. He had taken control. Dana kept going through the details, then asked me a question that made my stomach turn. Did you keep any bank or trust login information in there? I went quiet for a second, then nodded. Not because I was careless, because I truly believed that storage unit was the safest place I had. Dana's voice turned cold. Then you need to change everything. Today. So I did. Passwords. Security questions. Two-factor authentication. I changed it all like a man waking up from a long sleep. Then I checked my email. There had been a few suspicious login attempts. One password reset request. I never made. Everything started lining up like dominoes. Kyle didn't just want to see what I had. He wanted to get ahead of me so that by the time I figured it out, the legal trap was already in place. And that was the deeper part of it. He didn't need me dead. He just needed me blind. He only needed me not to know what he had already taken. I looked at Mia. Do you understand now? He doesn't love the assets. He loves getting there first. Mia cried, but this time, she was crying because she finally saw it clearly. Dana said, "Now we set the trap. Let him come back on his own. A man with a key never stops after one try. He'll come back for what's left." Dana came up with a simple plan, but a viciously effective one. We placed a fake envelope inside the documents box. Inside were harmless copies made to look like real asset papers, along with a tiny marker, something subtle enough that only we would know if the envelope had been opened. A planted hair, a thin strip of tape, invisible marker. Anything that would quietly tell us someone touched it. I also asked the storage manager to change the lock and issue me a temporary new key without notifying anyone. At the same time, we installed a small hidden camera inside the unit, fully within what the facility allowed and within my legal right to protect my own space. The goal wasn't revenge. The goal was to catch him holding evidence. That night, I acted normal. I didn't text Kyle. I couldn't let him smell suspicion. But men like Kyle don't need an invitation. Once they know there's something worth taking, they come back on instinct. He'd already been inside before. He would return to see whether I'd noticed anything and to take whatever he hadn't gotten yet. Dana told me, "When he comes back, don't interfere. Let the camera do the work." I nodded. I had already spent 10 years being led around without realizing it. I wasn't making that mistake again. This time, I wasn't fighting with words. I was fighting with footage. And just like Dana predicted, only 36 hours later, the access log showed another entry. Owner name? Still mine. But the person opening that door wasn't me. A man with a stolen key always thinks he's invisible. I was sitting at home, watching the live feed from the storage unit. And then, Kyle showed up. No mistake. This time, he came alone. No hat pulled low. No hesitation. Which meant one thing. He still thought I didn't know. He unlocked the door like it belonged to him, stepped inside, paused for 2 seconds, just enough to scan the space, then walked straight to the documents box. No interest in keepsakes. No wasted motion. He pulled the exact box, opened it. His hands moved fast like someone who's done this before. Then he saw it. The envelope. The bait. He stopped just for a fraction of a second. My heart started pounding. He picked it up, opened it, looked through it, and then slid it into his inner pocket. Right there. Clean. Direct. Certain. At that exact moment, Dana texted, "That's enough." I didn't rush in. I didn't call him. I saved the footage. Saved the access logs. Then I called the storage manager and requested an official report, unauthorized access, time-stamped, with video attached. Kyle walked out of that unit like a man who had just completed a task. Closed the door. Locked it. Went straight to his car. What's terrifying is, he didn't shake. Not even once. He moved like this wasn't new. But this time, he wasn't invisible anymore. This time, the camera caught everything. His face, his hands, the exact moment he took the envelope. A thief can deny words, but he can't argue with his own reflection on camera. That night, I asked Kyle and Mia to come over. I didn't mention the storage unit. I just said, "I want to talk." Kyle arrived wearing that same fake politeness. "What's going on, Dad?" I set the iPad on the table and played the video Kyle unlocking my unit and slipping the envelope into his pocket. The color drained from his face immediately. He reached out, like he was going to turn it off. I stopped him. Kyle went straight to the usual defense. You were spying on me? You don't trust me? I asked him one question. What's in the envelope in your pocket? He froze. Then he switched to blame shifting. I was just trying to protect this family. You're getting older. You forget things. And I was worried important papers would get lost. I looked him dead in the eye. You protect a family by copying my key and sneaking into my storage unit? Kyle snapped. And the moment he snapped, the truth came out. Why are you even keeping all that stuff? Sooner or later, it's going to belong to my wife and kids anyway. That sentence hit like a gunshot. Mia just stood there, stunned. Then she whispered, What? What did you just say? Kyle made it even worse. You're my wife. Your dad's assets are eventually. I cut him off. No. My assets are mine. And what you just proved is that you see this family like an ATM. Kyle went silent. Mia started crying. And for the first time, my daughter saw it clearly. This was never about helping. It was about taking. Dana moved fast. The storage unit got a new lock, a new code, and the old key was deactivated. I signed an incident report with the manager, attaching the entry logs and video footage. Then we sent formal legal notice. Kyle was barred from accessing the unit or anything tied to my assets. I never liked bringing the law into family matters, but Kyle brought it in first when he copied my key and started entering behind my back. Mia looked at me, her voice shaking. Dad, what do I do now? I didn't soften it. You need your own lawyer. You need to separate your finances. And you need to understand something. A man willing to do this once will do it again, just more carefully. Kyle started texting apologies, then begging, then threatening. If you listen to your father, you'll... I didn't need to hear the rest, because threats are just the next step in the same plan. Control. I moved every important document out of that storage unit and into a bank-safe deposit box and a secure digital system. I changed every password connected to the missing USB. I cleaned the whole path. Kyle lost the key. He lost the access. He lost the darkness he'd been hiding in. And once the darkness is gone, the predator always shows his face. He started calling me selfish. Fine. When it comes to thieves, selfish is exactly what you should be. Mia stayed at my house for a few days to calm down. She kept repeating the same sentence. I still can't believe he did that. I told her, you weren't wrong for trusting him. You'll be wrong only if you keep trusting him. After seeing the proof, then Mia asked, did you hide the storage unit because you didn't trust me? I shook my head. No. I hid it because I knew you were kind, and the person beside you could use that kindness against you. My grandchild, if there is one in the story, asked the simplest question of all. Why did Daddy take Grandpa's stuff? That was the part that hurt most. Because a child sees the truth in the clearest way. Taking something that isn't yours is wrong. It's adults who twist it into excuses. I set up a trust to protect my grandchild. I moved the assets tied to that child's future into a structure no one could touch. I wanted to make sure that if life ever fell apart, the child would still have a way forward without depending on a greedy man. Mia slowly began to see the difference. Kyle wasn't apologizing because he knew he was wrong. He was apologizing because he got caught. And those are not the same thing. When someone apologizes only because they were caught, all they learn the next time is how to hide it better. I didn't keep that storage unit secret for 10 years because I wanted to live in fear. I kept it secret so I could live in peace. And I never imagined the person breaking into that secret would be the same man who called me Dad. But now I understand. Family doesn't need a secret key. Predators do. So what would you do if you found out your son-in-law had the key to a place you never told anyone about? Would you stay quiet to keep the family together, hoping he'd stop on his own? Or would you hit back immediately, cut off his access, cut off his opportunities, and accept being hated if that's what it takes to protect your daughter and grandchild from a man who's been taking things piece by piece? I chose to hit back, because people like that don't stop at a crack in the wall. Give them one opening, and they'll turn it into a doorway. And if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's this. Don't wait until everything is gone before you trust your instincts. When the evidence is right in front of you, act, because next time, a predator won't come with a key. He'll come with a new story and a dirtier plan.